Welcome, everyone. This is Pilot Niels, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at lasers and LOTRO, and here at LOTRO Players. And this week, I'm joined with Krister.
Hello.
Hello there, Krister. Have you had fun in the game this week?
I've had my highs and lows.
I'm
Yes,
sure we'll hear
I've
more
generally
about that
had
later.
fun this week. So.
Okie dokie. Then let's go and have a look at what's in the news this week. And we had another beta for update 38 this week. This is beta number 2. And in this, they added the City of Umbar. I know City of Umbar was implemented in last week's build, but they didn't have any NPCs there or anything like that. It was pretty much of an empty city. Well, this week, it was as crowded as a city. Yeah, so it was quite busy there. The people were going all over the place. Now, I just had a little peek in there since I was only 140, and of course, that particular area is about 145, 150-ish in what we have there. But it looks like that they are coming out into shape on there. They said that they're currently expecting the update to be in November the 8th. We'll see if they hit that, because originally they're playing on November the 1st, and they didn't quite make it on there.
Need another week.
Yeah. Now, let's see what they did add for this week that was different from the previous one. First off, with the Ornings. The Orning barter vendor has been returned to Oxclan Merchant Camp to trade with Orthanc Instance Cluster. I was trying to figure out, why did they remove it in the first place?
Spite.
Spite? You're going to upset a bunch of bears out of spite?
Oh, heck yeah. That's just like if you're all for chaos, that really is, agitating the Bjornings.
Yeah, I'm not too sure I'm that into chaos to poke bears. Also, in instances, Dragok's health has been increased by about 3 times. Despite most values being reduced in the stat crunch, Fellowship maneuvers actually gained potency, and Dragok's stat crunch health reduction did not take that into account. So apparently people were just ripping Dragok to pieces.
Oh, wow.
And in the preview, let's see, they are also, apparently they had accidentally put a couple of instances to scale above 140 that they didn't intend to. So,
ooh, I wonder what happened.
Well, it could just, I don't know what would happen if with Hidden Horde scaling to 150. I mean, I don't know what would happen to that instance if it were scaled, since it wasn't designed as a scaling instance. Then let's go into items and rewards. Potion vendors have been updated for level 150 of trouble removal drafts and salves. In light of changes to enhancement runes, many scaling instances now reward fewer rare enchantment runes than before. All right. That's right, because in the past, once you got a certain number of things, the yellow ones were completely and absolutely useless. So now that they're going to be useful again, since you could always use them regardless, it's just that the more rare ones are more powerful. And yeah, I could see why they might want to reduce a couple of them in there.
It's not like we got them all hardly at all anyways, so now we get them even less.
Yeah, let's see. And fixed a bug that would prevent new types of essences from being installed on items when an item level lower than the essence, even when the essence's on limits would permit it. And yeah, that was annoying sometimes when I was trying to figure out, why can't I put this essence on here? And it wasn't like one where it was obvious, because if it turned out,
right.
Oh, wait a minute, I got this level 120 item and I'm trying to put a 140 essence on it. I mean, in that case, I can understand why. For PvP, monster player characters can revisit tribe representative NPCs at Grasslet upon obtaining blessing traits. Actually, maybe I should also read last week's in there because I think I skipped this section last week. Monster players now have a trait slot for tribe traits. The incoming damage reduction from Okulum's challenge and Lanethal's call of arms has been significantly reduced. Troll and Ranger session player characters in the Etmors now have an inherent minus 50% incoming damage effect. And for Defilers, Sticky Feet and improved Sticky Feet debuff durations are increased by 5 seconds, and the improved Sticky Feet debuff no longer stacks. It can only be applied once per target and will refresh its duration if reapplied early. In Uruk War Leaders, the radius of the Uruk banners has been significantly reduced. PvP Audacity bows now have the correct level requirements. PvP essences are now correctly bound to account. Some PvP jewelry was misconfigured and being equipped into the wrong slots. This has been fixed, and each piece should now equipped in the slot this name refers to. Itmore's bartered consumables, food, hope, scrolls now require trackers badges or soldiers patches in addition to combinations, but provide effects with equivalent potency to matching consumables obtained outside the Etmors. And Etmor's stun and root break potions bought for gold now cost 3% of your max morale rather than a fixed cost of 500. I know you don't like things like that.
Of course not. It makes no sense. The more powerful I am, the more vulnerable I am.
Oh, well.
Not that I'm bitter, though. I hope you didn't pick that up.
No, of course not. Yes, and as I hinted at last time, their plans that they had for sorting character reputation alphabetically, they did revert that change this week because a great number of people said, no! Now, they did give suggestions for alternate things to do instead, but Cordovan made it rather clear that no, they don't have time to do anything else. It was either go with what they implemented or revert it, and they decided revert was probably the best action to do in that case. /listen is now usable while mounted. And
Phew!
Yeah. And that's it for the updates to Bulwer this week. They do expect to have one more Bulwer update next week, and then the week after that, if all goes well, we will have the Corsairs of Umbar released, and I'm sure things will really go crazy.
Extra spicy.
Extra spicy, and then we maybe could find out what happened to Jajax.
Extra shanty.
Extra shanty. I was like, we find him singing shanties. That's what we do with Jajax, right? Anyway, what's on sale this week?
Well, you can unleash your unleash.
Okay.
You can unleash. You can also unleash your potential, getting 25% off loot box keys, universal solvents, universal morale and power potions, deep boosts, and that's through November 2nd. And the weekly coupon is for a free 20% mount speed for 6 hours. Coupon code is GOFAST, and that is through November 2nd as well.
Rather than Goat Fast?
I think goat. Well, think about it though. If I have a stable horse or a stable goat, I'm going to think the goat is not the fast option between those two. I'm going with the horse.
Okay. Well, I guess you do have a point with that. So let's go into our reminiscing, and I thought this time we could reminisce about MacGuffins and LOTRO. And the reason why I was thinking about this is that when I was posting the final episode for my second season of Lore of the Shadow, I was it was of course that last quest that you have where you're returning Ziegelbert. So in that time I says, where we store away and finally say farewell to Ziegelguffen. And I was just thinking at that time, what are some interesting MacGuffins that you may remember that you've run into in Lotro?
Okay, so the two that I totally loved were there's this quest in Mordor in the Grand Stairs where you can acquire this drum from one of the bosses, and what we found is that with that drum, if you had that drum equipped, or if you what was it? You performed in a moat and you equipped the drum while you're doing it. It would do this kind of half. You'd like half do your emote and then you'd be drumming as well, and you could get all these bizarre. Like if you fainted and then whipped the drum out, you would kind of tilt back 45 degrees and then start playing the drum like a psychopath. And it was hysterical to see all these combinations of all these bizarre effects when you're triggering your emotes. So of course everybody in the kin had a drum at that point because it was so goofy, and there was many MacGuffins to be had there. And then the other one was this glitch with this one helmet where you put the helmet on and then suddenly you were bald and the helmet was floating 10 feet off your left shoulder.
I see there's a pattern in the items that you like.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just these bizarre glitches, but they were just hysterical when because you of course you put the helmet on. The last thing you're expecting is to go bald and then have a helmet floating off of your shoulder. So definitely was a surprising moment in game. What about you?
Well, as I said, the Ziegelbert was the ultimate one for me, which is why I was thinking about it at the time. And when I'm saying MacGuffin, I'm usually thinking of something that is more to drive the story than its own utility. And I'm just trying to think, is there any other MacGuffin that comes anywhere close to it in Lotro from that point of view?
Oh boy.
As I said, but Ziegelbert is this thing which the entirety of Volume 2 is driven by this crazy out of bounds item in here. You know, an axe made out of mithril. And everybody seems to want it. What do we do when we finally have it? We get rid of it!
Oh no, this is the wrong one.
Oh, this is the wrong one.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yes, I say. So that's just the insanity of the whole thing, is that we go through all that trouble to get it and stuff like this, and in the end you get it. It's the craziest MacGuffin since the Holy Grail. Of course,
Yeah, I can't think of another equivalent to that in the story. So that's too funny too. That's all right. We lost half of our fellowship. We've acquired the axe. Just toss it in the trash. I'm not interested in it anymore. You want to play Minesweeper?
Yes, I mean I do wonder though about Narquil almost. Because I look at all the trouble we go through with Narquil. I think if anyone comes close, it has to be Narquil in that matter. Though some of those oat stones that we've been running into, I think are starting to creep onto that level. Especially considering that the last raid we had was all about a shard, a single little shard from an oath stone, and all the trouble that causes. So all sorts of things like this.
Isn't that what Gandalf says? Like, sometimes the tiniest thing can be the biggest pain in the butt.
Yes. Oh, of course. That's right. The biggest MacGuffin of all is, of course, that crazy ring.
Exactly.
But I was thinking LOTRO in particular, since I was thinking of LOTRO created plot, since obviously the ring is the whole thing for the main plot from the original novels. Oh, and Mary Rose Morningstar says, "Oh, Lennox! It was like catnip to dwarves, and so of course we had to get to destroy it."
Exactly. That's right.
Yes.
What's better than collecting riches? Destroying those riches so no one else can possess them. In front of them, preferably.
Oh yeah, dragon treasures. Those. Now that's a favorite one for anyone. Anyway,
What about an anti-MacGuffin? Which would be like going into Dragok's lair and seeing enough gold in there to finance 75,000 palaces built across Middle-earth of solid mithril. Yet you can't grab a single coin out of that hoard.
well, you just reminded me of one of the craziest ones. It is a subplot to the Bingo Boffin storyline, where Theodora Gross goes to Dragok's lair to get rid of a treasure.
That is so hysterical. Are you tired of lugging your massive treasure around? Come down to Dragok's today.
Yeah, let's give it to the dragon.
I offer treasure storage of any size. I can accept up to a hoard. Oh boy, I think there's a advertisement in there somewhere now.
Uh-oh. I opened up a box of worms. With that, we better go into our week in LOTRO. What were you up to?
Well, last night we met. Last Friday I was unfortunately out feeling pretty bad, but now I'm feeling mucho better. So we decided to do, I can never remember this. It's the new Defense Skirmish.
Doom of Karis Galedrin?
Thank you, yes. So we did Doom, and this was the first time we actually used the strange thing called tactics.
Oh!
And we were very successful in our endeavor. So we, high off of our victory there, we went and turned to our, kind of typical Friday night, which was going in squishing rats and vermin. And so we went and did our vermin run and completed that successfully. So we had a nice experience all said and done. And I think everybody, the main thing right now is everybody's, it feels like everybody's getting nervous about the level cap increase, of course, because now everything has to change. You know what I mean? So now we have to look at all of our equipment and figure out what's going on, what are we going to do, and so a lot of people have been thinking about that. But what I hope that means too is that we'll see more people returning as well, and be able to organize bigger and bigger things, because it would be really nice to have enough people to do that raid when it comes out. All three of them, the 3-man, 6-man, and the raid, are not going to be in the initial release, right? Or
right, the initial release won't have any of the instances.
Yeah. So, but just looking forward to, first of all, just the release, and then of course getting up to level 150, getting squared away, and then being able to do the group content together. So that was our Friday night, and then I've been playing a lot of. I really liked the Galactic Civ series, so I've been playing a lot of the Galactic Civ 4, which came out recently. It's been a lot of fun, and then just basically recovering from my convalescence, and I feel like I'm at probably about 92% right now. right now. So
you're recovering from your convalescence. The disease was so bad that even the convalescence you had recovered from even the convalescence to the
that's how bad it was. Yeah,
so
I
that's
could
so
only
bad.
play half the Galactic Civ that I wanted to this week
Okay.
because of it. What were you up to, Pilot?
All right. Well, my Mariner joined in with the Friday Night Fights group. We ran some skirmishes. We ran the Way of Smith skirmish and Thievery and Mischief, I believe. And we also ran the library. And we actually managed to complete the challenge in there, which is good because I think that's the first time I recall ever completing the challenge successfully without someone kiting the birds.
Oh boy, yeah,
Yeah,
wow,
we managed to refrain from using AOE's or anything like that. We didn't rile a single bird until the boss was down.
that's pretty darn impressive, actually.
Yeah, so because I know that whenever we did it before, it was always through kiting. Now, the group that we had wasn't exactly what you call a perfectly optimal group. We had we had a warden. Okay, so the warden was so you had a warden, a hunter, and a mariner. So that meant
Ah,
so that meant
oh, the boy, that's horrible.
so the mariner was healing, and so you have a class that's not exactly optimized for healing. So I wasn't optimized for healing, and of course was attempting to be the primary healer. This is the first time I ever tried doing that role, and I eventually did learn that I had more heals than I thought I had. Though of course all the heals on Mariner have long cooldowns, so it still wasn't anything that I could be constantly healing or anything like that. So yes, getting adjusted to healing on the Mariner was probably what I spent a lot of time doing on there.
Does Mariner healing just basically involve you getting them, everybody around you, drunk enough that they don't realize that you're not healing them?
I think that's probably part of it. I mean, one of the main targeted heal the Mariner has is called Toss a Bottle.
Of course.
So yes, I'm sure that improves morale through a different means, shall we say. Yeah. Now, during the field trip, we had a full crew of mariners, and we made the arduous crossing of the Guathlo. And I don't know, do you remember the quest where you crossed the Guathlo?
I do not recall it by name. So,
Oh, okay. Remember this? It's the border between Swanfleet and Cardolan, where you go through uh, Tharbad.
yes, yep, I remember
Yes,
that.
right. So the river is called the Guathlo, and it was. They were talking about how hard and arduous and impossible to swim in, and how you have to let go of your horses, and they give all this discovery, and we just we walked about. We barely got our ankles wet.
Well, you're mariners. Yeah.
Yes.
All these landlubbers. They don't know what water really is.
Yes, I mean, boy, I mean, when a hobbit can get through there, or because we had 4 river hobbit mariners going through there, so it was just strange that 4 hobbits can go through there with barely getting their ankles wet, and they make this big, huge deal about how arduous this swim across this river is. As one of the biggest disconnects I ever saw between the text and what's actually happening.
Maybe they build it up for tourism. Come to the most devastating stretch of river you'll ever see. It's a pond.
uh,
3 gerbils lost their lives.
well, that does sort of sound like, because I remember one of my favorite lines from Douglas Adams was his description of the sea from where he was that was going to Komodo. So he was going to Komodo Island, and they're on this place, and everyone's telling them how treacherous, how turbulent the waters is. That was the most one of the most raging bodies of water anywhere in the world. And after giving this description of what people were talking to him, his next sentence was, "It was like a mill pond." That's what it felt like to me. And finally, I started a character and began playing Return to Moria. So heading in, trying to reclaim Khazad-dûm, and let's just say it's still trying to get used to the whole thing in there. I remember how long it took me to get used to Minecraft, so this is like saying, okay, now we got this. This is how you get your resources. This is how. So I'm.
What are you thinking so far then?
Right now it's like it sort of feels strange being so. But right now I'm still in the, oh boy, why does it feel like it's constantly dark in here? I know, we're in Moria. I should know Moria by now. What's like in there? It's like, and since I've been playing solo, that means I've been in Moria alone. So no companions or anything like. Well, my only companion is a white raven, and you know things are a little weird when the raven you're talking to is white.
Like you got scared really, really, really bad.
Right? Maybe it's been
oh no, you don't want to go
long.
there.
Maybe it's been more too long and it just bleached out. A raven that has not had enough sun. That's all I gotta say. And so exploring in there, I'm still not quite used to the combat or anything like this, and I'm not too sure I like it when I'm fighting 3 orcs at the same time, because that could be a bit of a headache, especially if I wind up getting killed and knocked back to my bedroll, because that's what happens. I was going into this expecting that it was going to be a roguelike, and that if you got defeated, you had to start over. But no, it turned out that you get knocked back to your bedroll, like it's similar to what happens in Minecraft on that matter. And of course, now that means getting back to where you died, so you get your stuff, which of course is probably currently being scouted by a bunch of goblins. So that's always the tricky thing. So yeah, I haven't quite gotten used to the combat yet, and maybe knowing when it's night and day, because I think the last time I ran into a bit of trouble is I did go out when it was night, and I think getting my sleep cycle right so that I'm sleeping during the nighttime and maybe awake during the daytime, that things will probably go better to it. And yes, there is day and night, because they have, I think someone described them as, they have a means of bringing in light, which of course they also have in LOTRO, and in there where they have very places where they try to bring light into Khazad-dûm. So they have a similar system in there, so that yes, you're able to see things a lot better during the daytime than during the nighttime. And I should know better than to go out at a time when the only light I've got anywhere around me is a torch, because that probably means there are going to be lots of wolves and goblins all about. So yeah, start in the early part learning and trying to get around. And we'll see. So far, it seems to be an interesting game, and it certainly gives you the atmosphere of Moria.
Cool, good.
It's Moria as if you were stuck in there alone and going, oh. Now, maybe some co-op in there. You'll be stuck alone with a couple of other people.
That's right. You'll be together, but you're still alone.
Yeah, your group is alone because you somehow you got separated from the expedition, and there was an explosion, a cave-in, and you were on one side and everybody else was on the other side. So that's something you need to be careful about. I mean, we'll see how that goes and what happens if you get onto the other side or anything like this. I mean, is the entire
Well,
storyline means that everybody else that you came on the expedition with, Gimli and company, are just never going to get into Moria as a result of this? I
no,
mean,
no, no. We're come on now. We've been trained in LOTRO for the dwarves. What's going to happen is you're going to do a bunch of work. You're
yeah.
going to have this climactic battle with the boss, and then he's going to show up and go, "Oh, I sorry, I was eating a sandwich outside. I didn't realize you were fighting this guy. Well, sorry, I missed it."
Well, actually, what could happen is, I mean, more plausibly with the storyline that they give you, is you came in through the west gate, through the one where the what where the pool is and the Watcher
Right.
was in
Yep.
Lotro. So in other words, the same gate that we entered in Lotro. And it could be that they say, well, we're never going to get in through this way. I guess we go to plan C. And plan C might be or plan D more likely, considering the name of the gate, is okay. Plan C is to cross uh, through Caracas. In other words, go through the Red Horn Gate, and when you go and from the Red Horn Gate, go to the Dimmerl Gate. I don't know why they didn't go through the Dimmerl Gate in the first place, but that's beside the point.
Well, I think if they could negotiate with the Watcher, it's like, hey, can you help us put up a bunch of stuff? I mean, you got a lot of arms.
Well, that's a good, interesting question. I mean, because the Vile Mall raid doesn't exist in Return to Moria, so as far as we know, that Watcher could still be alive. In fact,
Yeah, maybe it's just misunderstood. Maybe he always wanted to be like a carpenter or an engineer, but no, it had to be
I
a
don't
monster in a
know.
lake.
I think I'm going to run to a lake at some point and then see Mr. Tentacle pop up outside and try to grab me. That's what I think is going to happen.
I would love if you did that. You saw a dwarf throwing pebbles in the water. That would be so awesome. Cloop,
cloop. I want to avoid doing that for now.
cloop.
Right now, I only have stone tools because I've just now starting to get some iron. And I think I need my first iron in order to build the forge that I could use in order to make everything
Get
else.
some mithril?
I think
I'm
it'll be a
assuming you
while
have to be able to get some mithril.
Well, I don't know the odds of me ever finding any of that stuff.
You just got to take it from the Balrog's head. He's wearing a crown of mithril.
A crown of mithril, all right. I suppose we could do that if I run into the Balrog.
That doesn't sound like an activity I want to participate in at all.
Well, yes, but remember, the Balrog was killed by Gandalf.
Yeah, that's what they tell you. Uh-huh.
Well, okay, that's what Gimli told me. I'm sure that's what Gimli told me. He was giving quite a rousing speech in there, I'm sure. because beginning trailer, all of this is about Gimli giving this great speech telling you it is time for us to return to Moria. House of Doom is ours. And who cares that Durin's not here yet? We'll see what happens because we know what happened to the last two expeditions that tried to go into Moria. And it looks like I'm going to turn into the third. I think I'm going to make the Iron Garrison look like a successful invasion. Anyway, we'll see. Maybe I'll have another story about what happened in Return to Moria.
Yeah, I'm expecting next time for you to say, okay, we built a food court over here. The 21st Hall is now a roller rink.
All right. Well, I will tell you right now that I do not think I would have a episode posted that is anywhere near to a roller rink level by then. So we'll have to see. But That is it for my week in gaming. If you'd like to send us any comments, you can send it to podcast@lotrplayers.com. The Players Alliance has two shows. On Saturdays at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we have Loach Players News and re-record DDO Players News when Drac is available. And you can join us for our shows at loachplayers.com/live. And that is all for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.